So once again, welcome everybody to the PolSource, Salesforce, and Software AG webinar to better understand how to get your business onto a subscription-based pricing and billing capability using Revenue Cloud. And we have our guest speaker with us from Software AG, Dr. Martin Neunhan, to give you a real-life example as how that would work in practice. So before we begin, I want to make sure that everyone understands that you are currently muted. But if you do want to ask questions, and we definitely encourage questions, please use the Q&A button that you can see on the Zoom panel, and you'll be able to ask questions there. What we will do is we'll monitor that Q&A panel, and we'll use the questions there towards the end of this webinar to pose the questions to the right people on our panelist. All right. So before we kick off in earnest, I wanted to walk you through the agenda. So I will be walking you through the panelists that are presenting today, shortly followed by a presentation of the current state of Salesforce Revenue Cloud. So what's the state of play for Revenue Cloud today? And then followed by how does PolSource deliver success? What is our methodology in this space? And then, of course, the moment that everyone's been waiting for, the customer success story. And then finally followed up with how can you get started on your journey? Okay, so who are our speakers today? So we are very happy to have Dr. Martin Neunhan represent Software AG today. He and I work very closely on the first phase of this project. Fantastic person to work with, and also a steerco member for the overall transformation project. So great to have him speak on behalf of Software AG today. We also have Gert-Jan, who is representing Salesforce. Gert-Jan will be talking about the state of play, which you'll be hearing about very, very shortly. Then you have myself. I'm Michael Raja. I'm the practice director for PolSource Revenue Cloud practice here in EMEA. And we're also joined by Vincent Oliver, who's our VP of Customer Success here at PolSource. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to hand over to my colleague Gert-Jan now, who's going to talk to you about the state of Revenue Cloud. Take it away, Gert-Jan. And classic form, you are currently on mute.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Michael. As Michael mentioned, I'm responsible for Salesforce Revenue Cloud, and happy to tell you more about the quote-to-cash solutions there. There's no doubt that 2020 has been a year like no other. In talking to customers, some have seen revenue stall, while others have seen their business boom. And whether you're trying to get back to revenue growth or push to new heights, it all starts with adapting to the changing expectations of B2B buyers. Today, buyers want to be flexible in buying and the product offers they get for that. The pandemic and current economic environment impacts every customer differently, and for many, cash is tight. Buyers need the choice to pay upfront or only pay for the usage. They need adjustable financial terms based on their current credit situation. Well, the pandemic has also changed where we buy. You know, as consumers, we've spent more time than ever shopping online. B2B buyers carry the same expectations to work life and want a seamless digital experience. For example, B2B buyers want to browse product catalog online. When help is needed, they want to click a button and request a quote. And they expect sales reps to be equipped with the context needed to provide guidance, no matter if it's a direct seller or a partner rep for that matter. Throughout every engagement in the buying journey, customers expect faster cycles as well. The pace of business has accelerated during the pandemic, and when a B2B buyer is ready to buy, they want a quote and a contract as soon as possible. If they have a question about an invoice, they want an answer now. If they want to change their contract, they expect a fast transaction. Suppliers who are unable to keep pace are getting left behind. Next, please. However, we hear that it's difficult to keep pace in the new normal. For many, revenue is processed through a series of siloed people, processes, and systems. And the complex network is often held together with duct tape. This revenue management complexity, of course, wasn't built by design. Instead, it happens as a byproduct of growing and evolving your business. Perhaps you launch a new partner network to complement your direct sales team and have a separate system to manage each channel. Maybe you've acquired a couple of companies and they each have their own go-to-market strategy. Or possibly the desire to sell subscriptions has led you to create like siloed billing systems and a product catalog for that. No matter how you arrive there, the result is the same. Complexity in the backend makes it harder to focus on customer success and makes it harder to ensure the accuracy of revenue data. And revenue data must be 100% accurate because it's reported to investors. There's no room for error. The complex spiderweb of revenue management processes, as you can see it here, makes it difficult to balance both growth and governance. And as a result, many companies make decisions by asking, what can our systems handle, and not what is best for the customer. Next, please. So at Salesforce, our mission is to help companies connect with their customers. We do that by putting the customer at the center of everything you do with the Customer 360. Historically, revenue was considered the domain of ERP because it's a metric owned by finance. But we believe there's a need to connect the revenue lifecycle and the customer lifecycle. There needs to be a place for finance and revenue operations on the Salesforce Customer 360. Next, please. We know that for our customers, revenue means more than direct sales. Salesforce Revenue Cloud helps companies take control of their revenue growth across every channel, including direct sales, partners, and digital commerce. Unlike other revenue management solutions, only Revenue Cloud is built around the customer as part of Salesforce Customer 360, allowing you to transform your best experience. Our common platform connects your various sales channels, including direct sales, partners, and digital commerce. Powering these interactions is our industry-leading CPQ solution, which you can extend to partner sales reps or synchronize with your digital commerce channel. When you want to launch a new revenue stream like a subscription product or a consumption pricing, you no longer need to create point solutions that adds to revenue management complexity. Powering every customer engagement on Revenue Cloud is a single unified product catalog and flexible billing engine that can support any type of monetization strategy. As your business grows, Revenue Cloud will help you drive efficiency and operational excellence. A common transactional data model powers automation across the entire revenue lifecycle, from automatically validating sales orders to consolidating invoices. It also provides real-time access to valuable KPIs like customer lifetime value, net revenue retention, and monthly recurring revenue. Throughout the entire lifecycle, you can integrate with your financial systems of record. Revenue Cloud is not a replacement of your ERP system, by the way. Instead, we complement it and drive better customer engagements by making revenue data actionable for you. Next. So to help organizations solve these challenges, we built the all-new Revenue Cloud. Instead of making trade-offs, Revenue Cloud will help you take control of your revenue growth across every channel. Revenue Cloud allows you to connect your sales, partner operations, and finance teams all together to create a single, unified buying journey and revenue lifecycle, all the way from purchase to renewal to revenue recognition. As a result, you will have a single source of truth for your revenue data, enabling automation and data insights. This is true no matter how complex deals, business model, or revenue processes. Our scalable and flexible platform can support your business. And we can help you and we can help your project go live fast, because we've got pre-built templates for most pricing methods and industry workflows for common processes. And as you make changes to your product catalog, these can be done with clicks and not code. Last slide, please. So obviously, we're thankful for the trust customers have placed with us to manage their mission-critical business process, the revenue lifecycle. In collaboration with our customers, we've been able to make a big impact. And according to a 2019 customer success study, Salesforce has helped companies in increasing invoice accuracy, with data being seamlessly passed from sales to finance, boost sales order acceptance with guardrails in the sales process, reduce surprises with better forecast accuracy thanks to better sales data quality, prevent bad deals by ensuring products and solutions are configured correctly, and protect margins with advanced approval workflows that ensure pricing compliance in your organization. With that, I would like to hand over to Vincent Oliver, who will talk to you about how PolSource can help ensure a successful transformation. Thank you.
Thank you, Gert-Jan. Appreciate everyone's time this afternoon. So listen, I'm going to talk through how we at PolSource and how you can help yourself ensure that your transformation delivers success. And what you've seen from Gert-Jan there is, particularly in the lead to cash, which Revenue Cloud plays in that high-level process, there is an enormous amount of complexity and those siloed processes that he talked about there. So over the next few moments, I'm going to talk about how we can help you deliver that success in your transformation. And the first step in that is to understand this is a transformation for you. It is not a technical implementation. You should treat it as a transformation. Salesforce Revenue Cloud is going to transform how you sell your services and your subscriptions to your customers. We heard from Gert-Jan there, the B2B buyer is wanting more consumer-led engagement behaviors. How do we ensure that this transformation you go under or prepare for, or maybe you're halfway through, delivers on what they need as buyers? Okay, we'll also hear from Martin later how Software AG have transformed their worker experience with Salesforce to provide that buyer experience, that seamless subscription experience. So if we go on to the next slide then, Michael. First of all, I know we've got a lot of colleagues from Europe on the call, so apologies for the London Underground analogy here. If you've ever experienced the joys of the antiquated London tube system, hopefully the connection will become clear in a couple of slides' time. Okay. Now, I'm sure many of you have been through a transformation or two in your past, and you will absolutely know, in order to get the investment from your stakeholders, you will need to put a business case together that outlines the expected financial returns that the transformation will aim to deliver. So you will expect user adoption and operational improvements, and those silo processes being seamless and connected to ultimately generate that financial return. We refer to this at PolSource as the expectation line. You will no doubt put a lot of time and effort into completing that implementation and the deployment activities at the start of the line, and you'll expect the adoption, the processes to be aligned automatically. Of course you will. If we go on to the next slide, unfortunately, we still see way too many CRM programs fail to deliver on those expected returns. And according to a Gartner survey in 2020, this is anything from 50 to 70% of CRM transformation programs fail to deliver. Okay, and we refer this to the harsh reality line. And this is where your users aren't using the technology you've intended for them. That causes processes to become siloed again. And of course, that will fail to deliver those returns you're expecting. So if we go to the next slide, Michael, hopefully you'll understand the London Underground analogy here. It's that mind the gap sign that you'll see in all London Underground stations. And it's that mind the gap moment that we want to help you avoid in your transformation. So how have we done that? At PolSource, we've created a success framework that will help you stay on the green expectation line. So we go to the next slide, Michael. Our framework, which we called the 10 keys to success, is what you should see here is regardless if you're doing your own transformation with your own internal team or an SI partner such as PolSource, will enable you to unlock your transformation's potential and keep you on that green expectation line. So we put these keys into 3 categories, starting with envision. And the first step, the first key there you'll see is the vision key. This is your guiding star. This is connected to the corporate objectives, most importantly, aligning all the key stakeholders involved. The second here, and Gert mentioned the experiences and the customer experiences, is ensure you put in a strategy that is experience-led, but putting both customers and workers at the heart of your transformation. And I'll talk about that a little later. We obviously need, with key 3, to identify and quantify the value we're expecting, define those KPIs so you can measure success throughout the journey. And then number 4 in the envision is prioritize and sequence with a roadmap. So you can identify the required people, the processes, the data, and the technical capabilities to deliver those outcomes. So now you've set the foundations, it's time to move on to the execute phase. You need to start with governance. And it's critical to install a framework early in your transformation journey. It's got to empower decisions across processes, technology, data, and enablement. Then you can start solutionizing the technology. As you've heard from Gert with Salesforce Revenue Cloud, a lot of that can be delivered with config only, and that's best practice. You need to ensure you keep solid foundations so you can adapt and build in the future. The last in the execute phase is the data strategy. Define the end-to-end data model. You've heard from Gert there, again, with Revenue Cloud and lead to cash, the processes are complex, will involve a number of integrations. Your data needs to deliver that intelligence across the entire customer journey, from lead, onboarding, all the way through to invoicing. So once you've deployed, it's now time to thrive. And you want to ensure you're realizing those outcomes, using those KPIs to track your progress. And you also need to evolve your solution. We all know business has changed in the last 18 months. It will continue to adapt and continue to change. So install a feedback loop to drive continuous innovation. Look to add new processes and tools as you go through the journey. The 10th, and for me, the key that really unlocks success is change enablement. You'll see those keys are wrapped around with change enablement. You must create a culture of change at all levels in the organization. You need to sustain that engagement and adoption that's really important to delivering success. If your users and your customers are not adopting the tools and the new processes you've invested in, you will unfortunately end up on that harsh reality line. So if we go to the next slide, Michael. What I'm going to do now is show you how PolSource can help you start on that expectation line, but also maintain the journey on the expectation line. So I'm going to go through the vision to roadmap in more detail on the next few slides. But this offering will look at that initial envision category of the success framework, ensuring you've got the foundations to succeed. The middle one there, the assess foundations, which can be completed in just 2 weeks, depending on the complexity of the organization, will provide your company with an insight into your current deployment, highlighting deficiencies in technology, data, processes, and enablement. And through those highlights, we can put together a practical remediation plan and prioritized roadmap to get you back on the expectation line. This is great before you invest any further on your transformation. And as you've seen, as I've explained in the framework, change enablement is the key to your success. We at PolSource have got a team of dedicated change consultants who can support and guide you through the full life cycle of change offerings to achieve that important adoption and engagement from your workers. Okay, so we're going to the next slide, Michael. We're going to cover our vision to roadmap offering. So these are using our adaptable templates to create a rapid but bespoke experience for you. We start by understanding your current state, both in experiences and capabilities. We then look at developing a vision map, that's your guiding star, remember, and getting all your key stakeholders aligned and set out the clear values and metrics. Using all this information and together with our extensive Salesforce knowledge and experiences, we're able to map the capabilities of the platform into a prioritized roadmap that delivers on those metrics and measures your transformation is setting out to achieve. So if you go to the next slide, let's first have a look at experience. Gert talked about the customer experience. What we believe at PolSource is in order to achieve a great customer experience, your workers have to experience a great journey as well. So through online surveys and our own observations, such as mystery shopper or even interviews, we're able to highlight here friction points as they relate to the experience outcomes. So you can see there, we want customers to be engaged, satisfied and amplified. And we want your workers, which could include your partners, to be productive, adaptable and motivated. In most cases, the barriers your workers experience will directly impact the customer journey. So it's important we consider both during your transformation. So if you move on, Michael. To understand existing capabilities, we use an online survey tool, which we have a number of on P1 processes, including lead to cash, service and marketing. We're able to gauge your workers' perception in a number of different capabilities. We then rate that your current maturity level. This is really like putting a mirror in front of your organization. It gives us great insight. Each capability is a standard set of questions that focus on the user's process rather than the technology. We work with our customers to ensure those questions are specific to their use cases and uses your own internal language and acronyms. We're also able to benchmark within your industry and set an achievable maturity target that the transformation will look to deliver. You should note that although we'd all love to be best in class in all capabilities, you need to balance the investment required to achieve that best in class maturity against the expected returns. And often just being mature will provide the best value. Now we understand your current state and your existing capabilities. Let's move on to future state. So we go on to the next slide, Michael. This is what we call a vision map. This example you see here is actually an organization looking to implement CPQ. Okay, this is made of a number of components and starting with a brand and logo. A brand for your transformation triggers an emotional attachment for your stakeholders, which you will not get if you label it a CRM project or a CPQ project. We then look at that strategic purpose. If you've had time to read it, the one thing you will see is it doesn't mention technology at all. This absolutely needs to be focused on the outcomes you want to achieve in your transformation. It should be an elevator pitch that will inspire and align stakeholders and users. So moving on to those guiding principles, these are your pillars that will underpin your strategic purpose. Again, they're outcome-based, and they will actually provide you scoping guardrails for future decisions as well. The defining attributes are actions and behaviors that define and deliver your guiding principles. And of course, lastly, those key measures and metrics for which you are going to measure those outcomes. That will provide the mechanism to illustrate your success. So if you go to the next slide, Michael. So taking the current state findings from the experience workshop, the capability assessment, and the vision map, we can therefore define a workable value map, and implementation roadmap. Of course, this is aligned to your organization's timetable and focuses on providing those quick returns on your investment. Let's get the solution up and running, see the value, and build from there. If you go to the next slide. What we're then able to do is map the roadmap and the impact on the guiding principles from your vision map. And on the next slide, Michael, you'll also see how we can start eliminating those friction points we identified through the experience component. So if you go to the next slide there, Michael. Right, before I hand back, let's just recap the benefits of the Vision to Roadmap offering. You'll achieve alignment across your organization with a clear purpose, lay solid foundations for a considered roadmap. You'll de-risk your investment and define further value to your business case. That will provide you with greater certainty in program scope, map to those experiences and capabilities. And because it's delivered at pace, it really will accelerate the start. And when you think back to the reasons CRM transformations fail, you can see how this quick engagement will set you off on that expectation line that we all want to achieve. So thank you, Michael. I'm going to hand back over to you.
Thank you so much, Vincent. All right. So before we hear from Dr. Martin Neunhan, I wanted to spend a couple of minutes talking you through what we actually put in place in order to enable that seamless subscription journey that Software AG were expecting as part of the project. So you would have heard from Gert-Jan and from Vincent that the customer experience really is key here when you're thinking about any transformation project. And that's exactly what happened with this project here. So looking at on the left-hand side, Software AG wanted a portal that users can come into and self-serve. If they weren't registered already, they could self-register, they could enter details, they could then go ahead and select what they wanted to either trial or buy, and even decide how they wanted to pay for that service. In all the while, all that information that's coming from the portal is actually working in tandem with the information that's in Salesforce. How did we facilitate that? Well, Software AG have a product called Web Methods, which is a form of middleware that we've adapted as part of this project to send information seamlessly between all the different disparate third-party systems that are talking to one another here. So what happens when the customer information, the account information goes into Salesforce? Well, in addition to that, along with the information about what the customer wants to either trial or purchase, we are using CPQ to generate the contracts and the active subscriptions that customer will then be consuming. This information is used in several ways. One is, of course, automating the tenant provisioning system that you can see at the bottom right there. What that means is a user does not need to request the tenant. What the information is being automatically passed on to the provisioning systems within Software AG to spin up a username and password so that the customer or prospect can get access to their system. On top of that, they're also able to see all their active subscriptions in the user portal. So they can see what they're trialing. The vision is they can also upgrade from that portal. They'll also be able to buy or convert from a trial to a paid service, all within that one seamless experience there. Again, of course, once the purchase decision has been made by the customer, again, we're using Web Methods to relay the information back to the data masters within Software AG. So the product pricing and invoicing is happening in an ERP solution, and that information is being passed from Salesforce to the ERP solution. Again, very seamlessly. The experience here is very low or no touch. Humans are not required to get involved in setting up any of the systems here. Everything's being done or driven from the user portal onwards. On top of that, there's of course the inside sales journey as well, which is again facilitated by Salesforce Revenue Cloud. So what you have is inside sales reps can go and can work with existing or new customers and set them up on trials and be able to give them the exact same access. the vision is, of course, to continue to push more and more users to the portal and get them consuming Software AG products and services in a manner that suits them best. But rather than talking about the architecture and the experience, why don't we hear it from the man himself? So, Dr. Martin Neunhan, I'd like to pass over to you now so you can talk about the actual journey. Please take it away.
Okay, thank you. Yes, first a few words to myself. So I'm Martin Neumann. I'm working for Software AG now for roughly 8 years, starting in a sales organization and now moved to a corporate function called cross-product strategy. And as part of this, I'm driving this CPQ project. Michael, can you just flip to the next slide? So for those of you who don't know Software AG, we're a company more than 50 years old, so one of the first software companies in the world, and are active globally. So we have customers, more than 10,000 customers all over the world, and we're serving them with different types of technologies. So the main areas are integration and API management, so web methods, which Michael just mentioned. So connecting SaaS applications, connecting also SaaS and on-prem applications, so hybrid, and as well as API management. So if we want to expose your APIs to external consumers, then you can do this in a safe and secure way. The other big part is IoT and analytics. This is, yeah, I think, our newest technology field for IoT. So connecting devices, having a platform which allows you to create IoT applications very fast and still scalable. And the last area which I want to mention today is the business transformation. So we have also tooling in place to help you transform your business. So the products are called ARIS and Alphabet. So ARIS for documenting your complete and managing your complete enterprise, so business processes, enterprise architectures, customer journeys. And especially these things are also helped us a lot when we drove this project to make sure that the customer journeys on the one hand, which we documented, are fitting to the business processes which we created throughout the project. Can you go to the next slide, Michael? So what was the challenge? Few years ago, I think 3 years ago, we had a change in our board. So Sanjay Brahmawar joined Software AG as the new CEO. And one of his first activities was to start a strategic project called Helix. And one of the main pillars of this project was the shift to subscription to enable future sustainable and profitable growth. I think this was, besides some other things, this is what the main or one of the important things. So, but what does it mean to the shift to subscription for a company which is 50 years old? So it means a huge change in the way how we are doing business. So in the past, we mainly talked to big enterprises and trying to and having big deals which are very customized to the customer, very flexible, not standardized to cover all the needs of the big customers. But this is something which is not suitable for subscription. So what we realized, and we got a lot of internal and external support, is that on the one hand, we need to be much simpler. Our product offering has to be much leaner and easier to understand. And so this was the first thing before we even started about thinking about applications and processes. What is a go-to-market? What do we need to change? And one of the outcomes was that on top of the existing sales channel, so big global customers, we also want to establish or should establish new sales channels, or new for Software AG. So self-service, online shop, for example, or being available in marketplaces, as well as inside sales or digital sales. which are selling also easier to consume products. And when we had a clear understanding what and how we want to sell, we evaluated whether we are able to do this in an efficient and profitable way. And we realized that our processes and applications are not suitable for this new subscription business, where we expect a high volume of contracts with a lower value or average value per contract. And this is where we actually then kicked off the CPQ part of the project. And can you go to the next slide, please? So what we got as task for our project is to create a new lead to cash process for Software AG, which is on the one hand suitable for low touch or no touch sales, but also is in line with our enterprise sales. So talking about land and expand. So we want to give our customers the opportunity to start with a small part of our software and then expand to becoming a big enterprise customer. And this frictionless, so we're using the same processes and tools underneath so that it's very easy and frictionless for our sales team to convert basic tier customers who sign up in the online shop and then hand it over to digital sales and then handing over to our key account executives, that this is frictionless. I think this was the requirement, as well as allowing different channels. As I said, online shop and digital sales, has not been very important sales channel in the past, and now they're becoming one of the big or or a very important to Software AG. And on the other, and an additional one is also we want to work on the partner business, so also that we are able to have partner marketplaces and include also the marketplaces into the system. So as you could imagine, this is quite a complex task, or is still quite a complex task. And so we thought, how can we tackle this? And our approach was to start with an MVP, because we know that we don't know how subscription actually works or how the processes actually work. And so we wanted to learn from the market leaders in these areas. So we did an evaluation for CPQ and subscription management tools and applications. And besides establishing the application landscape, we also wanted to learn what are the best practice processes in this area. And as this is stated here, we started with a minimum viable product. So we said, okay, what is the smallest and simplest piece which we can look for? So we don't want to start with all countries in the beginning. So we picked North America as lead country. We restricted the number of products we want to sell to our basic offerings, which are suitable only for online shop and digital sales. And this also means that we can have much less complexity and options in terms of how we create our contracts and which options we give to our customers. And this also simplifies approval processes, for example. So really making it as simple as possible and then add complexity where needed. Run this for a year and then review what we've learned. And I think this review step was a very big one or important step to really say, okay, after this 1 year, after we started with the MVP, what was good, what was not so good, what should we change, and then also adapt the architecture. And Michael, can you go to the next slide? So what was the result? the MVP was about to start mid of or end of last year. Due to several challenges we faced at Software AG, we skipped the go live and directly went to the next phase 1.5, which has just been launched a few weeks ago. And what we learned is that I think we still have a lot of complexity, even though we simplified a lot. But to really maintain, also be able to sell our products globally in all the regions where we are available and stuff, we needed to review some of the architectural decisions we've done, and we did this. So this is the reason why we had some delay in the go live. We've got very positive feedback from our internal sales team. In the past, we had a very fragmented application landscape with some integration between these different tools, but as these tools were made for complexity, it was still complex to create even simple quotes. And now having everything in one application, which is Salesforce, allowing them to create quotes, start the approval process, create the legal documents, and send this to the customer. This is a huge benefit for them, and we did first evaluation and measured how long does it actually take to do all these steps. We reduced the effort by 80%, and this is actually the time you're working. It does not include times you're waiting for someone to respond or not knowing what to put into certain fields and stuff. So I think in the end it will be much more. And I think this is the biggest benefit also would be that we, especially for these smaller deals, we can now create quotes within 8 minutes, whereas before it took days, also due to the approval processes which we had in place. So this is, and therefore we've got very, very positive feedback from the sales team. Perhaps looking into the future, as we said, we followed our MVP process. So we slightly extended the scope. So we added now a different region. We added some additional products, which also had some implications in terms of complexity of the product catalog and so on and so forth. And what we are planning now until beginning of next year to add this out to all regions, extend the scope of the product so that we're able to sell all our products within Software AG through CPQ, and also add more functionality like advanced approvals, so that we are in the end able to fulfill also our whole enterprise requirements, or their requirements which enterprise sellers will have at the moment. So I think this is what I've prepared. So in a nutshell, I think we are on track. We've got very positive feedback. This is one of the key initiatives within Software AG at the moment. And as part of this Helix transformation project. And I think thanks to PolSource for giving us a great support. And yes, I'm happy to answer questions if there are some.
There we go. Struggling to get off mute there. Thank you so much, Martin, for that presentation. That was fantastic. And it was great to hear about your journey. I'm going to try and open the Q&A panel now if I can. And I was actually personally curious, Martin, help me. Going from taking days to quote to minutes now is a huge improvement. Can you tell me, as part of just running the project, if you had the opportunity to do it all over again, are there any lessons learned? Is there anything that you would do slightly differently this time around?
what would we do different? So we decided in the beginning to keep the project team quite small. In fact, we nearly spoke with everything or every function within Software AG because it's somehow related to this project. But this causes some problems in the past, so that some disalignment between the business. So therefore, making this team slightly bigger might be a decision. But on the other hand, this is always a trade-off because the bigger the team is, the more complex is running these. So I think in general, I would do it similar.
Excellent. And we've got a couple of questions that come through now. So one of the questions is, have you seen any ROI? I appreciate that you've just gone live in just a few weeks, so it might be difficult to answer this question, but have you seen any ROI on the rollout?
Not yet. So as we just said, we just rolled out the beginning of Q2, and also the sales team we started on purpose with a smaller sales team. So we're waiting for the first deals coming through. But we did some ROI calculations, or we created a business case. So this will in fact, on the one hand, less cost for running multiple applications and then just having one. This is one thing. The efficiency increase in salespeople, which then we want not to measure as cost savings, but hopefully revenue increase, so that our salespeople are able to serve more customers and also serve them better because they can send over quotes much faster and also hopefully close deals faster or send them to an online shop if appropriate. So hoping also this will have a very positive effect on our deal cycle.
Sounds like you'll be able to scale the business without adding to headcount, which is fantastic. Another question here from the panel, perhaps a bit of a spin from the other question, but it's worth asking. What was the hardest part of the project?
Handling the handling the 50 years of innovation, which is within all of our systems and applications and processes, and bringing this into the new subscription world, which is, so we have a lot of habits and things which we take for granted in the past, which are now different, or where we have to ask ourselves, is it still the right way how we are doing this? So starting from legal risk assessments, which we had, which do not really fit into an online shop world, for example. Also dealing with colleagues which are 50 years within the company, or nearly, not really 50, but which are quite long, to give them a clue what it really means to have also now SaaS offerings, and to explain them several times that they don't need to download the software. I think these are the things which were quite hard. So really the mind shift in the people sales.
Now that's some great insight there, Martin. And I'm just going to squeeze in one final question here. This is from Anthony Harrison. What made the difference to successful adoption?
So I think I don't worry at all about the adoption of this project or making this successful, because in the past we had, as I mentioned, we had one tool for writing quotes. We had another tool for approvals. We had another tool or platform for managing all the contracts and making the connection between these contracts and quotes, and also connecting to Salesforce. And this was really made for very complex, very customizable contracts, and now the world has changed. So therefore, having all these options made it very complex and difficult to create quotes. So we've got a lot of account executives who are not doing quotes themselves or in the past, but had some support function which was creating the quote because it was too difficult to create a proper quote. And this will now change. And at least these improvement or the simplification in this whole process, I think this will make this project a very huge success and also drive the adoption rate. And the other thing is also, we still have also, as I mentioned, we have a new offering. We created a new offering coming from perpetual licenses now to subscription offerings. And this is also something where we have to educate, or not educate, to convince our customers that it's beneficial also for them to move from a perpetual contract to a subscription. And this new tooling is one of our incentives to the sales team to motivate them to convince our customers to also do this shift towards subscription. So it's a carrot and a stick. You get all this nice and shiny new world if you're selling subscription. If you don't want to, then you have to go to the old stuff.
Yeah, excellent. So we're not just talking about internal user adoption here. We're also talking about your customers, external users having adopting to the new way of Software AG doing business. That's great insight again, Martin. Thank you. So what's next then? So you've seen how Software AG have taken their journey onto the scene, moving into a subscription world. So and if you've joined this webinar, I'm sure you're at least curious or interested in doing the same. As part of that, supporting you on that journey, we here at PolSource would like to offer you a free Revenue Cloud health check for all those of you who've attended. This health check will assess both your technical and your business needs on your lead to cash process specifically, although we can have a conversation around expanding it where relevant. And what it does is, after this activity, we'll provide you a clear set of recommendations for your transformation project. So it's not just again, as Vincent mentioned earlier, it's not just a technical challenge that you have here. It's also a business and process change that'll need to take place. So we'll be providing a series of recommendations that cover both the technical aspect of it and the business aspect of it as well. In any case, thank you so much once again for your attendance, and thank you for those who asked questions. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank again Dr. Martin Neuenhahn personally for attending the webinar. It's been great to listen to how you went on this journey, and also hearing some of that additional insight that was brought upon by the questions that were asked by some of our attendees here. So without any further delay, I would like to thank everybody for joining. I wish you a pleasant rest of your day, and thanks again for joining our webinar. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.